Ah, the fair. Where the only thing more exciting than gambling on funnel cake and fried Oreos is hoping somebody else didn't as you walk beneath them under the flying swings. So welcome back, everybody. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment, and subscribe if you find this entertaining. I really appreciate it. And now let's get into today's topic. So originally we were going to be talking about the Kawa 66, which, as Chris has informed me, is the poor man's Hasselblad. As far as the actual body of the camera, it's kind of a cross between a Hasselblad and a Rolleiflex. So Chris had spent hours trying to fix this thing, get it all ready, and I'd been giving him a hard time about it. And then we get to the fair, because Florida's still open, and this was months ago, and we do whatever we want down here. He's got the Kawa 66, he's got the fanny pack full film, he's got an extra lens, we're ready to go. And then he puts a roll in it and we have issues. And he puts another roll in it and we have issues again. So after the countless hours he had spent trying to fix it, turns out something was going wrong. So there wasn't enough tension on the film advance. So after about the second shot, it wouldn't pull the film any further. So he couldn't get to advance, he couldn't get it to cock to take the next shot. So the whole Kawa 66 video idea and camera that I wanted to use is postponed for now until he is no longer wanting to destroy it and actually wants to repair it again. So luckily though, I did bring a spare because I've gotten used to things breaking on me lately as far as film goes. So I brought with me the Zenit XP12. So this, oddly enough, is one of those cameras that there's really nothing special about, but for some reason I just find it interesting and I just feel like I have to hang on to it. I don't know why, because it's really awful. So I put a roll of Lomochrome Metropolis into this. The shots came out pretty well. Now this camera itself, there's nothing to it. I mean, you have your shutter speed dial, you have your aperture dial. It has a manual shot count that you have to adjust yourself to put back to 0 there. I mean, your shutter speeds, you have bulb 60, you have bulb 30, 60, 120, 250, and 500, that's about it. You have a lock for your shutter button, which is cool. It takes the old Mercury batteries, which go in the back side here, just below where the film rewind lever is. So I've put a battery here before, and I can never get this actual battery cap to stay on. So I just don't use battery. Cover just will not stay on, which is one of the many qualms I have with this camera. So I got this at a thrift store for, I think, 10 bucks, 12 bucks. It had the Helios 44-4 lens on it. That lens is broken. I think it needs a new spring for the aperture, and then also there's something busted for the actual focus of the lens. So it's in my parts bin for now until I can figure out what to do with that. So on here, I have the Helios 44-2. So we'll compare the two different lenses here in a minute so you can kind of have a general idea. There's plenty of videos on there about the Helios. You can look them up and all the crazy bokeh. We're not going to be talking about the bokeh today. We're just going to be showing the camera, the lens, how we got the Lomochrome Metropolis to work out, and just show you some images. I think it went pretty well, given the fact that this is a... we'll just go there for now. So the 44-2 lens that I have on here came from a Zenit B that I have. That body does not work. So I got the lens from that one, and then I got the camera from this one, but I have a lens and a body that both need to be repaired. So just add to my list of endless bodies in that closet that I don't want to get to, but I will have to when I move here shortly, which we'll get to in another video. Continuing on, ISO dial over here on the other side is busted as well, so this shouldn't happen like this, but it just doesn't stay. It's completely loose. All it is attached with set screws, so there's really nothing solid connecting it. So one of those set screws has come loose. I don't know if there's perhaps something else on there that I'm missing, but it was like this when I got it. And so that doesn't work, which isn't a big deal because I don't really use the internal ISO anyways. But if you wanted to use the meter in the camera, that's something you would need. Other than that, you have a timer on the front, hooks here for a strap, which I hate that placement. I wish it was on the sides or just further up. The camera body overall, it's nicknamed the Tank, which is for given reasons because it's just a brick. It's a giant paperweight. It is heavy. It is solid. Build-wise, I feel like I could run this over and it would not do anything to it at all. But also I feel like it would just destroy everything internal, because internally it's garbage. External body is great. I mean, I don't know that you could break this if you wanted to, although I'm sure someone will challenge me to that. But as far as internally, the components, how things work, how they're connected, all the little gears and dials, it's just garbage. That's my opinion. I know the Zenits are not popular. The lenses are great. They have a cool look to it. They're kind of a copy of a different lens. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Somebody please comment that down below. It's a very popular, not Zenitar, something like that. That was what the Helios lenses are supposed to kind of copy. Now, as far as lenses go, like I said, this is the Helios 44-2, and then there's the 44-4. There's a bunch of variations within those. So the 44-2 that I have here is known to be not quite as sharp and a little softer, and then also known to have more flaring, from the research that I've done, generally speaking, which can be cool. With flaring, you can get some great looks and things like that, and it can provide you with a very unique style and look if that's what you're going for. The 44-4 is going to give you a little bit more sharpness, especially towards the center, around the edges as well, whereas this gets soft really quickly, and then also it's going to have a little bit more contrast, a little more clarity to it as well, and not have as much flaring as the 44-2. Another big difference, which I really hate about this lens, is that this might be great for videographers if you wanted to use it for something like that. This has 2 rings for the aperture. You have the first ring on the exterior, which sets it to a certain range. So if I wanted to have a full range of f2 to f16, I would set it on f16, and then there's a secondary dial here which I can adjust, and it's stepless. So I can go anywhere between f2 and f16 without hearing or feeling any kind of click, which for video that might be great, and it's very smooth, very subtle. You're not going to see it, you're not going to feel it. The transition is going to be seamless, but you also have no idea what f-stop you're on, which is why I hate it. Also, it's so close to the other dial. It's hard to adjust the manual dial without adjusting the stepless. You really gotta force your hand in there, and it's hard to grip it without twisting the stepless dial there as well. All it takes is this little touch, and all of a sudden I'm no longer where I want it to be on f2, I'm at f2.8, or maybe I'm at 2.4, somewhere in the middle. You don't really know, so I really hate that about this lens. I would much prefer the 44-4, where it's just the stepped aperture ring on there, and you don't have a secondary one that's so close and so difficult to mess with. So that's really one of the main reasons I don't use this lens a lot, just because I hate that. I do use it more on my Fuji than I would on any of my film cameras. I really want to get that 44-4 fixed, because I think I'd prefer to use that. But nevertheless, this is a cool lens. You can get the cool effects with it. Camera does have a hot shoe, does have a timer, does have, of course, your mount right in the center, and really that's about it. It does have a threaded mount if you wanted to attach a cable to it. It does lock if you half press it down. Another funky thing about this is to rewind the film. It took me a while to figure it out, because usually, there's a button somewhere on the bottom that you press to rewind your film. There is no button on the bottom of this. So what it is you have a little notch right here where your shutter button is, and so you press that notch down, and that is what allows you to rewind the film. So if we were going to go back to my original grading scale, it would be what? Build quality, usability, features, and then something else. Build quality, you gotta give it like a 2. Yes, the body, the shell of it is a tank, but everything else about it is just awful. Features wise, it's an old camera, but they did make it for quite a while. There's really not a lot of features to it. It's simple and clean, which is why I like it. It's not a lot of bells and whistles, very easy to use, but features wise, I give it a 1. Usability, I give it maybe a 2, 1.5 to 2, I don't know. It's really just not much to this camera, but for some reason, I just really like it. I don't know why. So I've used it a few times. I've taken it on a few trips. It does have the M42 mount, which is great, so you can put some good glass on here. All my Pentax Takumar glass on here, my Yashica glass that I have that's M42, any of that glass I can put on here because it's at M42 mount. And once you get down to that, the camera is just a shell and just a vessel for whatever film and lens you put on it. This camera will probably work for quite a while as far as the basic features of it. As you can see, the ISO dial's busted. The light meter, I'm sure, probably doesn't work well. This style where you have to manually change what shot you're on, I don't like that either. Shutter speeds, you're limited. You only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different speeds on there, one of which is bulb. It only goes up to 500, so there isn't really much to it. But at the same time, I kind of like that. It's very simple, straightforward. I don't have to mess with anything. I know what I'm getting, which isn't a lot, you know? It's very simplistic. It's like going camping. You just take the bare essentials. That's all you need. And you have your fidgety lens or your fidgety camping tools that you hate, but you kind of like because it's annoying and you feel like you have to use it because you're camping. So, I mean, that's really as best I can describe it. Now, as far as Metropolis, this film, I really like this film, and I thought it was kind of cool to use it at the fair because you have this area with all these different colors, all these different peoples, all these rides. Like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of popping colors and contrast. They really want to just grab your attention. So I really like that this kind of mutes it down, makes it very subtle. Now, in these shots, you're not going to see that typical swirly bokeh that you can find just about on every other video you search for these lenses. And as you can see from the images, nothing is overly sharp, nothing is overly spectacular. It's somewhat soft as far as the image quality goes. As far as the film goes, I think the colors turned out great. I think this Metropolis film is exactly what I was expecting, and I'm very pleased with it. I really like it. I think I could use it in a lot of different scenarios as far as doing things like this, or places where I might go where there'd be a lot of pop, or downtown urban areas type things like that. Another thing I will say as we go through these images is I really like how this treats the greens as far as this film stock goes. Normally in images, greens are very bright, very yellow, they pop a lot. Me personally, I like my greens to be deeper, darker, more foresty, more muted, more desaturated, which is what I got out of this film stock. The last few images I actually finished off at a plant nursery, I guess just a nursery of plants. A place we kind of go to almost weekly, every other week, just to get out of the house, hang out. So in these images, you see the greens, for the most part, they're a little more desaturated, a little more towards the foresty green, less yellowy, which I kind of like. I don't necessarily like it in this setting with all this green going on. But I like how it treats green, so that could be something interesting to play with in the future. So that is one kind of thing I noticed. Skin tone wise, it's going to be more muted. It's going to kind of get rid of that saturation, that yellow, that orange, that red in the skin tones. Make it more like white pale, a little more neutral, which is to be expected. I'm not upset about it. I kind of anticipated that. It doesn't really bother me because you're not getting something completely natural in this film stock anyways. But so yeah, that about wraps it up on the Zenit 12 XP. Do I recommend this camera? If you want something cheap, it's great. I mean, if you can get one that's working, they made so many different variations of these. I know the Zenit 12 or the Zenit B, I think there was 12 different variations of just that model. So the Zenits overall, there's got to be plenty of different variations. I'm not sure which one's the best. It'd probably take a lot of research, and even then who knows what it's gonna be, because their quality control and everything like that was so bad then. Nevertheless, it is a cheap and expensive M42 mount body. Some of the bodies are M39 mount. I can't remember which ones, but this one and some other ones, they're M42. So if you want a really cheap and expensive M42 mount body, this could be one for you. You're gonna take a gamble as far as what is working on it, if it's working at all. I think they will last a pretty long time as far as the bare essentials, what you need to continue going, which would be a shutter that works. That's pretty much all you're gonna get out of this body. It might seem like I'm being harsh, but that's my opinion. I still really like the camera, and I still don't know why. So that wraps up this little bit on the Zenit XP12. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for future videos, and I will see you in the next one.